Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business. We've designed this TV show to educate you in simple to understand plain English ways for complex legal terms, to help you understand why you undertake certain legal aspects of your business, and to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? And that is the average time that it takes for a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? And do you feel like there's a divide between lawyers and their clients? If that's so, then this TV show is for you. We've designed the show to empower you and your business with the knowledge and tools to help ensure that those problems that so many businesses encounter don't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show to give you some actionable steps to consider for this week in your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show. It's generally between 30 minutes to an hour to go through the complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand and plain English way. That can be through educational pieces or interviews with experts in the fields. We welcome you to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, and here's our show.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. My name's Jeremy Stretton, and with me is...
Hi everyone, Craig Mason.
And we'd like to welcome you today to this show, our first one on a deeper dive in Phase 1 conception. So today what we're going to do, if you would have seen from the title, is we're going to talk about your initial team. We're actually going to go a little bit deeper on that too and go to a few other members that you might want to include in your team further on. Craig, I'll bring up the Business Legal Lifecycle image just so everyone can be reminded of where we're talking about. There it is. So Phase 1 conception. So yeah, that's all about this. Basically what you need to think about before you actually start your business, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So it's, as it says there, it's the first phase. Pretty important one though. If you don't do certain things in this one, then your business mightn't end up going as well as you hope. So pretty important phase, the conception. And it's not just about having a brand new business idea either. It's conception that you're going into business in some form. So pretty important phase.
Yeah, and so this month we're going to go through. Today we're going to go through your initial team. We're going to talk about things like goals and other considerations that you should have before you actually start up your business. And I think it's one of those things that people miss out a lot on Phase 1. They kind of there's the romance in starting a business and getting going on it, isn't there? And people don't do these important things, and that's really to their detriment because they miss out on thinking about the important things. And the team is one of those things because most people are starting up a business these days without many employees or any employees. I know when we started our business, I think we started just with you and I. And really having the team around you is the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you don't know what you don't know. And the objective of this is to get that information so you do know exactly what you need to do in order to have a successful business. And hopefully at the end of it all, you've got something that you can sell for what you perceive as a significant value. So, yeah.
Cool.
Really important.
Well, we're going to go through 9 different slides and different consultants. And as always, please feel free to ask questions as we're going along. If you are watching this on the replay, please feel free to make a comment on the video link here. If you're watching this through one of the other channels, through YouTube, feel free to make a comment there or even email us. You'll see on the bottom on the ticker, down the bottom is an email address, lifecycle@jeremystretton.com. That's our email address for Business Legal Lifecycle. So feel free to email us there with any questions. So anything else before we kick off, Craig?
No, I don't think so. Let's do it.
All right, so I'll go to the first slide, and the first slide isn't actually one of the team. It's actually just to talk about the initial team in a little bit more detail. And as I said before, it's having an initial team is one of those things that a lot of people miss, and they don't see as important because they don't understand what they're missing. You don't know what you don't know. Now, having an initial team is great, and you should get advice from the people that we're going to talk about in the next 9 slides. But you also need to have a think about that team working together. I think one of the biggest issues that I see anyway with startup businesses is that they start up, they have this great idea, great team, and then they don't actually work together. So one of the big things is making sure that the team works together, because at the end of the day, you're the business owner. You need to make the decisions on what you're going to do, and then you need to take the advice of your consultants, make sure they're on the same page, and make sure they understand what they're doing. So just to give an example there, I was thinking about this before when we were preparing for today's show, of a client who had his team, but he hadn't told all of his team all of what was going on in his business. And when they came to me at the start of the business, it turned out that they hadn't told their accountant certain bits of information that they should have told them. And by the fact of me insisting on that client actually letting me talk to the accountant, we found out that the advice that the accountant gave was actually, so it was right in most respects. It didn't understand what was actually going on in one aspect of their life. So just by having the team work together, we were able to adjust the initial structure and the initial advice to make sure that it was right for them. So we'll kick off in a minute. What we're going to talk about, as I said before, was the 9 different consultants that we see as being the most important. We're going to talk about who they are, what kind of advice that they need to give for you, who they are and what they actually need to do for you. So they're the first 2 things. And the third are any questions that you should have with those those consultants. So looks like, Craig, we don't have any questions. So you can kick off with our first one, lawyers.
Yeah, so lawyer, pretty close to our heart, obviously. Jeremy and I are both lawyers, so this is obviously the most important team member that you need to get. But no, they're all just as important. So obviously with a lawyer, you need to, and same with all of these sort of consultancies, if you don't know someone, then sort of ask around and try to get a referral to someone. You might have used a lawyer to, for your conveyancing, for instance, you could start there. But obviously you want to get someone that has experience in this sort of area about, setting up a business and those sorts of things. And also someone, and you may not sort of have a connection with them straight away, but it's over time you want to be able to build up, the trust with these people, because they're all what you would call, what we would call trusted advisors in your business. So obviously what the lawyer needs to do for you is make sure the structuring and those sorts of things are going to be set up correctly. You also, if there's other businesses out there with the same name, so you've come up with your business idea and it's, Bob the Builder, and you head off and start trying to set up a business called Bob the Builder. You're potentially going to run into some troubles there, so you'd be talking to a lawyer about, what business name, what company, the company name, is there trademarks that are going to be, exactly the same as what you're planning on doing, those sorts of things. You should also be seeking advice from the lawyer, and it depends on what sort of business it is, but whether or not the actual business is legal in the jurisdiction that you're in. No point doing something that is illegal, or there's a lot of restrictions on how that business can run in that particular jurisdiction. So you want to make sure that you've covered all those things as well, because there's no point sort of coming up with these great ideas, heading off into the merry lands and coming up with a great business idea and starting up and then realising that you're breaching all sorts of rules and regulations in Queensland or wherever it might be. So they're the sorts of questions that you'll be asking of your lawyer. And then, as Jeremy said, that will flow into the next one, which Jeremy's going to talk about.
Yeah, so the next one, I'll just flick over here, is an accountant. And I'm going to include bookkeeper here because I think they're both very similar. A lot of accountants and bookkeepers are in a business together. But accountants are the people that provide you advice on tax. So when you're starting up a business, you need to figure out what your goal is. And then next week we're going to talk about goals and where you should be going. But you need to figure out where your goal is and then make sure that your accountant sets up your structure the way that is right for your tax position. At the end of the day, the accountant is the person who is going to be providing you and with lodging tax returns, whether that be your GST tax returns, whether that be your normal income tax for your business or your company. They're the ones who are going to have to be lodging that information. So what I always say to my clients is that they need to make sure that the accountant is comfortable with the way that their structure and that their business is set up. So talking to your accountant about the tax and the structure is very, very important, because if you don't, then you won't be set up properly, and your accountant might start your business in July one year, and in Australia, if you are watching this from overseas, our tax year is from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. And that's our financial year. You may not realize, if you haven't got advice from your accountant until 12 months later, that the way that you structured it was wrong, and by then it's too late. So talking to your accountant and making sure that your structures are set up correctly is probably the most important thing that an accountant is there for, to provide you with advice on. The next thing that your accountant needs to do for you is to actually make sure that all of your tax returns and your GST is all being done correctly. So I'll throw in the bookkeeper here. A bookkeeper is a person who handles basically the entry of your data on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis for your income. So what money is being received and your expenses, what money is going out. So a bookkeeper is the person that you should have in your business, and everyone should have a bookkeeper. It's very tempting, and we fell into this when we started Stratton Mason Lawyers, of doing our bookkeeping ourselves. That was a huge drain on, well, let's be fair, it was a huge drain on Craig's time, but it was still a huge drain on his time because he was doing that. And the freeing up of the time on doing those tasks to a bookkeeper is very important. Now, you can get great software these days. I'm not going to mention any names, but people would know there's great cloud source software that you can use so if you don't have many expenses and income, that they can actually do a lot of that for you. But a bookkeeper prepares the accounts for your business and make sure that everything's entered correctly. The accountant should be checking those facts and figures before they actually get submitted to the ATO or the tax office. So they should be checking to make sure that all of your deductions that you could have are correct. At the time of recording this, and for the last year and a bit, you've been able to claim when you bought an asset, say a computer, which we're using today. You can claim that instantly on your tax if it's under, I think it's $20,000. You can claim that instantly on your tax. Your accountant should be on top of that, making sure that you're claiming all that back as soon as you can. If you are GST registered, if you're over, I think it's 75 grand income in a year, you need to make sure that your accountant is making sure that you're collecting all your GST and that you're claiming back any GST that you're paying. Because people in business, if you're spending out GST and then you're getting that back from your clients, well, you actually get to offset those amounts. Now, I'm no accountant, I'm not going to profess to give that kind of advice, but that is something that I know that we can do in business, and I know that you can do it too. So you need to make sure that you have an accountant and that you're not just not getting the advice, because people don't ask the right advice from their accountant and make sure that they're getting the right advice as they're going. So making sure that you get the advice on the tax and that making sure that your tax is paid and up to date is very important, because we see business owners who might have set up their business and they might not have got advice from their accountant early on, and they may not be paying their tax for whatever reason. They may not have realised that they had to. They may not realise that they need to start paying it at certain points. So you need to get that advice from your accountant, and also make sure some of the key questions are: when do I have to start paying tax? Am I claiming all my deductions? Am I lodging all my stuff on time? Making sure that you ask the accountant lots of questions is very important. And I think one of the key things, and probably key to all of these advisors, is what don't I know that you can tell me? So, an accountant especially will understand the different rules of tax. They'll understand the different rules of what you can claim, what you can't claim. And you need to take their advice and follow their advice. because they're there to help you out, and they're there to make sure that you get the right advice. So asking the accountants, as equally with all the other consultants that we're talking about today, what don't I know that you need to tell me? One classic example is a lot of business owners don't realize that after the first year of operation, that their tax, if they've paid tax in their first year, then the government will start to take quarterly tax from them, or even monthly tax in some cases from them and their business to prepay tax. So like as an employee, you pay PAYG, a business does as well. So getting that advice from your accountant as much as you can, as early as you can, is important. And before we move on to the next one, I'll say this for accountants. They're probably, or they are, the consultant that you're going to need the most during the life cycle of your business. You're going to need to get advice from them, not just in phase 1 conception and phase 2 startup. You're going to need to get it with your initial clients. You're going to need to get it through phase 4, bringing on employees. You're going to need to get it through expansion, maximizing your business, your estate planning. You need to find an accountant that you trust and will give you advice for life, don't you, Craig? Because the accountant is probably the most important consultant for you to build a long-term relationship with, for you to trust, and for you to make sure that you get advice from them on a consistent and regular basis. So that's accountants. And Craig, number 3 is financial planners.
Yeah, so financial planners, and just to reiterate what Jeremy was saying as well, all of these, including financial planner, you're going to be seeking advice from these sort of people throughout your hopeful, successful life cycle. But in the conception phase with a financial planner, you might be an employee and embarking on a business venture. Obviously, you'd want to sit down with a financial planner to work out that, okay, I mightn't be earning any income for the first couple of months. If I go and do this, is the mortgage payments going to be met or something along those lines? So you're going to do some probably preliminary sort of budgeting and cash flow forecasting and those sorts of things with a financial planner. And just to make sure that you've got everything in order from your assets, how they're, what they're earning, you might have investments, those sorts of things, to make sure you've got a full picture of what's happening. And, most importantly, so that, you can afford to pay all your bills and your payments and whatever else during the first few months of business. Because let's face it, there's not many businesses out there that start off and, are kicking goals straight away and, earning, income straight away. There's going to be a lot of preliminary expenses and those sorts of things. So you've got to make sure that you can afford it all, obviously. That's why you'd be talking to a financial planner. Financial planners also normally deal with, life insurance, income protection insurance, so those sort of personal insurances. So you'd be talking to them about that as well at this point. Income protection, potentially, obviously you don't know what the income's going to be, but it could be that you're making sure that your spouse is covered for income protection. For instance, if you're going into business and your spouse wasn't, that if something happened to them, that there's the income protection there. And life insurance, we all know what that is. Obviously, if something happens to someone and they pass away, then you've got life insurance. So you want to talk to your financial planner about those sorts of things as well at this stage. And obviously, if you're going into business with someone else as well, probably sit down with them and have a chat, whether you use the same financial planner or personal insurance broker or whatever it might be. Talking to them about these sorts of things as well, I think is pretty important, because there's no point going into business if everyone's not open about finances and those sorts of things. So financial planner, important. I'd say a lot of people would miss doing that one and may not do it for a bit down the cycle, but we'd encourage everyone to at least talk to a financial planner during this phase. Financial planner. Next one, Jeremy.
Great. All right. So let me just flick over to the next one, which is business coach or mentor. Like Craig said with financial planner, the financial planner is someone that a lot of business owners miss in having, especially in the early phases of their life cycle of their business. If there's one that I can implore you to seriously consider and spend the money on, it's a business coach or mentor. If you haven't run a business before, and I say this a lot, you do not know what you don't know. Now, that might seem simple, but you may not have any idea how to run a business. If you've been an employee, you might be great at doing your work and the work that you do in your business. But you do not know how to operate a business. We fell into that hole. when we first started Stretton Mason Lawyers, we didn't know how to run a business. No one had ever educated us. We're great lawyers. We knew the law back to front. We could advise on all aspects of business law, but we did not know how to run a business. And a good business coach or mentor is worth their weight in gold. So let's talk about coaches first. Let's also talk about the elephant in the room. There are a lot of bad business coaches out there. And there are a lot of business coaches who aren't in it for the right reasons and that don't have the experience. Do your research. Make sure that you find someone who knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, and has a track record and a plan for you. Anyone, in my experience anyway, who doesn't have a plan that they can actually help with your business and show you where you're going and show you how you're going to get from where you are now to a successful business isn't worth it. Someone who can identify not just one aspect of your business and help you build on that aspect of your business is, again, worth their weight in gold. So a business coach a good one will provide you with advice on marketing. So again, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how to market your business. You don't know how to market how to get your clients until you get some advice from someone. A good business coach can do that. But equally, if you've just been an employee of a business, you probably, especially if you're anything like us, have no idea what the actual financial side of your business is. We had an idea. I had advised businesses for many years on business sales and startups, and Craig had done the same and had also got a bachelor's degree in commerce. Is that right? Yeah.
Electronic commerce,
but it's still financial and all the rest of it. So we didn't know how to run a business now, and didn't know as much on the financial side as what we now know after 6 years and working with a business coach for the majority of those times. What we didn't know. So any startup business, especially if you're in the phase one conception, but even if you're in phase 4, bringing on employees, think seriously about getting a business coach. It's not a waste of money. It is if you get the wrong one, but if you have the right one, they're worth their weight in gold. And also be prepared to stick with them for the long haul. If it's a business coach who says you only need them to get their advice for a year, I would seriously question whether or not they're the right business coach for you. You want someone who's going to stick with you and give you advice for the long haul and help develop you and your business skills and your business mastery. Because if you don't, then they're not worth it. They're not worth the money. With a business mentor is slightly different. A business mentor is usually not someone that you get advice on how to operate all aspects of your business. It's someone that has been there before. So here we might be talking about someone who is run a business that's similar to yours, that's provided advice to businesses that are similar to yours. That's what a business mentor is. So in our case, it might be another lawyer who's operated a business for many years before us. It could also be another business owner. I don't want to say that you should only get advice from a business mentor who's in your field, because you may think that all the great ideas that you're going to get come from your business, but I can tell you, as someone who's been in business for many years now, that your ideas and the ideas that you're going to get from other business owners are amazing. We're members of a group called Elite 500, and some of the insights that we get from other people who run completely different businesses, aren't they, Craig? Are so key to our ongoing success and understanding that the key problems that you have in one type of business aren't the same as another. So I implore you, if you are in phase 1 conception, or even if you're watching this from a different phase of the life cycle of the business, don't think that you don't need this advice. You do. I don't care if you've been in business for 20 years. I don't care if you've been in business for 50 years. People will have different ideas. Business is a lonely place, and a business coach or mentor is really valuable for making sure that you get the right advice. So that's my little speech about business coaches and mentors. But I do feel, in all seriousness, I do feel very strongly about this. I see that something that has been a key success to the success that Craig and I have had since we started our own business and led into the business legal life cycle. And I think that it's something that a lot of people will miss. I get a lot of people who say to me, "Oh, you don't need a business coach or mentor. What advice are they going to give you?" And honestly, I believe that is because the advice that they've got has not been right. So get the right advice, and you'll find that it makes your business a lot more successful. So that's business coaches and mentors. The next one, Craig.
Yeah, insurance broker. We're just following on from what Jeremy was saying about business coaches and generally about these sort of advisors. Obviously, if you don't have these and you're halfway, you're in your cycle of business and you're going along merrily, doesn't mean that you just don't go back and engage these sort of people. You can do it at any time. It's not too late to do this. And with a business coach as well, they have certain experiences, certain, their own mentors and business coaches that they get training from.
The good ones do.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily blindly follow everything they say, but it's a sounding board as well to be able to say, look, thinking about doing this, what do you think, or whatever it might be, and they say, okay, well, yeah, have you thought about this, etc., etc. So it's a sounding board for questions throughout your business as well. So business coach or mentor, whatever you want it to be, pretty important. So anyway, next one was insurance broker. So flowing from what I was talking about, the financial planner with the personal insurance, and an insurance broker in this, what we're talking about here, is your insurance for your actual business. So there's no point in setting up a great business and going along and then realising that you don't have any of the required insurances, or something happens and you didn't have insurance that would have quite easily covered that particular event. So sit down with your insurance broker, again, find one, talk to people, get a referral, whatever it might be, and you want to be seeking advice to them as to, okay, what's the minimum amount of insurance that I need in order to conduct this business? What are the additional ones that you think might be relevant? And obviously ask questions as to, okay, well, what does that do? What's that going to do for me? Cyber insurance or whatever it might be, something like that. Why do I need that? I've got an IT, I've got a firewall, isn't that enough? Those sorts of questions you'd be asking your insurance broker, because they'll have certain advice about, okay, well, that's not enough because of this. You're in this industry, and this is quite common here. We see 22 claims a month based on this. If you've got this insurance policy, if we modify this with this insurance company, it'll save you $100, but it'll cover you for all sorts of other things. So, you want to be getting that advice from your insurance broker before you start up and go along. So, pretty important to talk to them. They'll have some advice, hopefully specific to your industry, and then you can work out, and obviously from that, exactly what insurance is going to cost you when you first start up, and you can budget for that along the way. So that's the insurance broker. Just on that too,
the other good thing about an insurance broker is they actually can handle the claim for you, can't they?
Yeah.
So if you've got a claim and you need to, and if you've ever done one before, you'll know it's a difficult process. But an insurance broker will actually handle the claim, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they know what forms to fill out and what people to talk to. So you don't, in business, outsourcing and getting other people to do things. Obviously, they want money for it, but outsourcing it, allowing you more time to do other things in your business in the long run is going to be a lot more valuable. So, if you've got your broker, they can handle. Hopefully, you don't need to, but if you do need to make a claim, normally your insurance broker, if they're a good one, will do that process for you.
Yeah, and the same goes for the financial planner. And then you come to your lawyer if you're not happy with the result, or you want to actually go any further with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So next one.
All right. Next one is employment consultant. So if you've had a look at the business legal life cycle before, you'll know that phase one conception is really even before you start the business. But let's be realistic. A lot of people that are watching this, or consultants that are watching this, have probably started businesses or have clients who have businesses that don't have, or that haven't followed that closely, and have probably already passed phase 4, bringing on employees. Because as Craig said, doing everything in business takes up a lot of time, and you need people to help you out. So an employment consultant really comes in phase 4, but we're going to talk about it today so that you're aware of them if you decide to bring on employees early on in your business. So an employment consultant is exactly what it sounds like. They are someone who will provide advice that's specialist to employment matters. Now, why are they useful? Well, usually they're cheaper than a lawyer, and usually a lot of lawyers don't actually provide employment-related advice. The rules relating to employment I guess the employment area of law is very complicated and changes as often as we change governments, which in Australia seems to happen all the time, every 3 years or every 6 years. So, and then the law changes around employees. So you need to have someone who's on top of the laws and can provide you with quick advice that's specialised into that area. So the advice that you get from them is specialised to the employment sphere, and it's something that you need to make sure that you get. So the kind of questions that you want to ask them are things like, what kind of award are my employees on, if any? How should I be employing them? How should I be engaging with my employees? Can they help me draft contracts? Do I need a lawyer to draft contracts? All that kind of information. Do you need to get an EBA or any sort of workplace awards or workplace agreements done, depending on the type of employment? That's what they're there for, and that's what they're there to help you with. So make sure that if you do decide to bring on employees, that you're either getting advice from a specialist lawyer who does this, if you've got that kind of money, or a specialist employment consultant, because they're the kind of people that can really help you and are the kind of things that a lot of people do miss in business. So that's employment consultants. Craig, the second last one is?
Real estate agents. So, I mean, they could serve a couple of purposes. One could be potentially if you're entering into a business and it needed a custom built premises or something like that, you might be talking to a real estate agent about buying those premises and those sorts of things. But probably where it's going to become more relevant is if you're leasing premises for your business. So, and you might use them, for instance, you're setting up a new juice bar and you found a great spot and you think, okay, this would be a great spot for a juice bar. You're talking to a real estate agent and they might say to you, look, Bob's Juice Bar's opening up 3 doors down. They're opening next month. Okay, thanks. Great advice. I'm not opening up 4 doors down from Bob's Juice Bar. So you'd be talking to the agent and basically just feeling them out in the area. So you might say, okay, I want to be in Morningside, for instance. They might say, look, okay, we've got these spaces. This suits that, blah, blah, blah. And you get that advice. You don't necessarily just need to use one real estate agent or talk to one, but you need to sort of get the advice about the local area. If it's going to be a business that's got foot traffic and those sorts of things, you want to be somewhere where there's going to be foot traffic, obviously, or a growing area and those sorts of things. So you'd be definitely asking a real estate agent about what they think is an up and coming area. Obviously, they're going to have vested interest because they're going to be acting for landlords or vendors, but most real estate agents will give you some sort of advice or recommendations or input at least that you can use to say whether or not this is a great spot for a business, or no, look, this is not a great idea, or we've got this space, because a lot of real estate agents may not have the listings that are advertised, and you're talking to them and say, look, hold on that one, I've got one coming up tomorrow, it's 100 square meters, perfect for you, blah blah blah. So talk to real estate agents, and I think depending on where you're going to have your business, you're probably going to be talking to more than one, because you want to have someone that's sort of in that area that's going to be able to give you some advice about the area. So you wouldn't just, unless that's where you're going to be, you talk to one in the local area. But it might be that if it's Brisbane, for instance, you're talking to a few, I think, and asking similar questions about what they've got available, those sorts of things. So I think that's real estate agent. Anything to add there? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think making sure that you've got a good real estate agent who can make sure that they've getting you the best deal on the premises is important. Obviously, the landlord's got to make their money as well, so you can't just go the cheapest thing. But I think the real estate agent is pretty important. So the last one today is the business broker. Now, anyone who's watched our videos previously will know that one of the big parts and the reasons for the business legal lifecycle surrounds making sure that you have your business set up in case you need to sell it in the future. So we're going to raise a business broker here. It's not technically in your initial team, but it is an important person to make sure that you at least know a business broker, and maybe talk to them about the kind of things that they might want to see if you sell the business. So as I think it was last week that we did at the end of September, we did a talk about certain things about the business and having your systems in place, and a couple of weeks ago we did an interview with Warwick Peters, who's a business broker that we do a lot of business with, surrounding what you need to have in place for your business and to sell in the future. Talking to a business broker I think anyway, is important to understand what you actually need to have in place for the sale of the business and making sure that you understand those kind of things. So talking to a business broker, usually they wouldn't charge you any money to get a bit of advice early on, and to make sure that you've asked some questions about, what would someone in my business be looking, or my industry be looking at to buy my business? What would be the multiple for that business? What would be the different factors that they would look at before they bought the business, so that you knew what you were building as a business to sell? Because remember that at some point in your business, you're going to need to exit your business. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. You are going to need to. Whether it be that you're selling your business for a lot of money, whether you've got sick and you need to sell your business quickly, or you've decided to sell out to your management, at some point you're going to have to sell your business. So you may as well start having an idea about what someone's going to want if they're going to buy your business, because if you don't, then you're going to run out of being the business ready. Because I think it was Warwick said that at the very least, if you haven't got everything in place, it's going to be a year before your business is ready to sell. You may as well start at the beginning, because you'll be able to cut down that year and make sure that you've set up the business properly. So that's our list of 9 consultants. Craig, did you have anything to add on business?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah, I think everything you said was correct.
Let's take away the slides. So look, as I said at the beginning, this is our first week of phase 1 conception. So we're going to be going through a lot more in depth about other topics. But just before I go, to any of the consultants that are watching this, part of our market for the business legal life cycle isn't just business owners. It isn't just the startup business owners or people who've been in business for 5 years or 20 years. It's all business owners, but it's also consultants. And I think there was a comment that was made on my LinkedIn feed for Fast Fix Monday about consultants. I think it was around trying to do too much advice for their clients. And look, I understand why they do that. I don't think it's fair to criticize any particular consultant or group of consultants for trying to give advice. Clients and business owners, and if you're a business owner, you come to us, you come to an accountant, you come to a financial planner, you come to a business coach because you want the right advice for you. And when you're a consultant, we all know that building a lifelong relationship with our client is important to the future success of our business, because it's much cheaper to keep a client than to get a new one. So if you've given advice or you've recommended someone for advice, then you want to make sure that the advice they're going to get is aligned with what you want in your business. That's the right approach. But you need to have people that you trust in your business. And trust in other businesses to give advice. If you're a lawyer, you should not be giving tax advice unless you're a tax lawyer, and that's a very specialist field. If you're an accountant, you should not be giving asset protection advice. That's a lawyer's job. Both of those should not be giving financial planning advice, because that is the purview of a financial planner. And I could go on through all the other consultants. Insurance, the amount of lawyers I see trying to give insurance advice is scary. Have a trusted team of advisors that if your client doesn't have one to trust, that you have someone that you can refer to, because they are important to the ongoing success of your business. And you may be trying to protect your client and make sure that they don't get the wrong bit of advice, but that could end up being a disaster for you in the future. So Craig, that's your initial team and initial consultants. Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I don't think so. Other than, important to do. And as I said before, it's never too late to talk to these people. And if you get the advice now, you might be able to fix something that potentially is going to be an issue down the track. So, get the advice either at the beginning or during your business, and they're going to be trusted hopefully for the next whatever amount of years. You'll always be talking to them about various things. So, pretty important to have initial team and to have build up that trust with your team, because you're going to go along that journey or that life cycle together. So I think that's it for today.
Great.
Join us on Monday for Fast Fix Monday.
All right. We'll see you on Monday, everyone.
Bye.